Hi, everyone. My name is Thomas. For those that don't know me, I'm the CEO of the Obol Association. And today I want to talk to you about all the opportunities that exist within the Lido ecosystem, especially if you're part of the Obol Collective. So I assume that many of you actually already know about distributed validators. So I really want to make it about the opportunities today of how you can, by being part of the Obol Collective, generate more yield, have more opportunities, and really build your brand as an operator in Lido and in Ethereum in general. So that's why we called ourselves the largest decentralized operator ecosystem. We like to talk about operators because at the end of the day, operators are really the bedrock of every layer one, every application, whether it's liquid staking, restaking. At the end of the day, the humans and the companies that are operating these nodes and this infrastructure really make up what's real about these networks, right? We see it a lot with the debates whether a network is centralized enough or not. At the end of the day, if we don't have these node operators at the bedrock, which can also capture a lot of value, and that's what I want to talk about today, how can you as an operator capture a lot of that value? And that's why we really want to focus on the operators today. So today, in terms of operators that are part of the Obol Collective, we have about 600 or 700 of them on mainnet, about 2,000 or 3,000 of them on testnet as well. And so if you're an operator on testnet and looking for some opportunities, I will cover some of them today, which is also quite exciting. In terms of the TVL, it also always pleases me to see a chart like this. So we've recently reached about $2 billion TVL being run on Obol today. So this is also just a testament of all that TVL being run by these operators across Lido, but also other various opportunities in Ethereum. These operators are leveraging the Obol product suite to get there. So starting with Charon, which is the most composable and performant DV middleware on the market. So composable with your existing stack, whichever consensus or validator client you're using, you can integrate Charon. Most performant, most resilient DV middleware. It can then be configured either through the DV Launchpad, which allows you for a very advanced configuration of how do you want to set up the rewards and the distribution of the various incentives across your cluster. Or it can be configured through the node launchers. And this is like the DApp node and the Ethereums of this world that make it very easy for you to set up a distributed validator with a machine that has those pre-configuration. Finally, in terms of rewards, we used to have the Obol splits that I think a lot of the products I'm going to be talking about and the opportunities leverage. But we also recently introduced the OVM, the Obol Validator Manager, which is the most advanced set of smart contracts that allow for very custom roles and configuration in terms of how do you want to split the rewards, who has the rights to claim those rewards, etc. And we'll cover more of that in the coming months. Finally, the last product I'll talk a bit about before we go into the various opportunities within Lido ecosystem is the Obol Stack. So what we realized is we have this big set of operators today that are part of the Obol Collective, so 600 of them on mainnet. And on the other side, we have these applications like Altel-1s and AI agents and Tao subnets, Avalanche, whatever you name it, that are looking to decentralize their network. There used to be this notion of the Cosmos-based chains, for example, where in that case, they needed to search for all their operator sets. Well, with the Obol Stack, we can actually bring these two worlds together, right? So on one side, we have these operators that for them it's really easy to discover and run applications and network and hopefully make additional rewards. And on the other side, you have the network and the builders that can package and publish their applications so that it can be run by these operators. So really trying to bring the two worlds together and create a flywheel effect within the Obol Collective. All right, so I'll now talk about the various opportunities that exist between Lido and Obol. You might be part of some of them. I've recognized many faces today. And some of them are still open for joining. The first one I'll quickly touch upon, and I know Will covered it this morning, is just Simple DVT. It was the 1 year recently, so congrats to all of you that are part of Simple DVT. I won't spend too much time on this, but this was really an important milestone in just showing the world and showing all of the other protocols in Ethereum today that you can have performance, you can have solo stakers, you can have resilience in the network without compromising performance. And that was something that a lot of people, especially on crypto Twitter, make us believe that it's not true. Like the Solana of this world make us believe that decentralization and performance go against each other. It's not true, right? Like Simple DVT proved that you can actually have both a big set of professional operators and curated set operators with all the community and solo stakers that are also part of these clusters. This is a chart I really like. And I think Will said this morning that 600 or 700 new operators joined thanks to SDVT. And so this is something we can all be proud. And distributed validators really helped get and made that possible, right? So performance, resilience, higher incentives can go hand in hand. In terms of performance, to go into a bit more of the specifics, so we often look at Raver from Rated as one of the key benchmarks in terms of how do we measure performance of an operator, of a validator on Ethereum today. And what we saw again and again is that Obol Simple DVT, and even if it sometimes requires a bit of management from the Lido team, from Obol to make sure everyone has the right setup, can outperform in terms of performance, and then obviously APR that is linked to performance, even the curated set. So it doesn't mean that because you're running in a cluster with Obol that your performance is going to be lower. On the contrary, that's really the power, the strength in number as a cluster, higher performance, higher APR. And then if you sprinkle on top of that some of the Obol incentive program that we've been doing, then as an operator, you can really start getting like that juicy yield. So that was the first initiative, Lido Simple DVT. We're looking forward to see it expand a bit more. Amazing stats. I think that's something that everyone working in Ethereum should be proud of. The second one, where maybe it's a bit more open, there is more opportunities for you to join, is CSM. And that's probably where you all expect me to scream, squat! So that's the squat thing. Squat, exactly. So community staking module, the squat thing of Obol, led by Dimi at Lido. So Obol has also been part of CSM from the very beginning. We joined the testnet, we joined the early access that was gated by the different technical credentials. So one of the things that we do with this like large operator set that we have today is we certify them. So we certify them with something we call the technical credentials, and having that access actually grants you like better terms, whether it's on Simple DVT or CSM, and I'll talk about a few other things later that this really credential gives you access to. But just on V1, we already had 40 squads and 250 unique operators. I want to let that number sink in, right? Like 40 squads, that's already more operators just on CSM than most of the L1s out there have, right? Like Hyperliquid have, 16 or 20 nodes today. So just CSM in Lido has 40. That's, again, fantastic, powering like the biggest pool of ETH stake out there. And again, like technology and performance and resilience can go hand in hand. One of the exciting things coming up is CSM V2, for those that are following, and I'm not sure I saw the presentation earlier today. So CSM V2 will redesign some of the concept of how you can join as a node operator. So today, we still believe that being part of CSM, especially V2, is the easiest path to mainnet, mostly for two reasons. So the first one is that by being part, especially of a multi-operator setup, so where you're teaming up with some friends, whether you're professional or solo stakers, you can get a lower bond, right? So if you want to join and get access to stake from Lido with the lowest bond requirement possible, CSM with the Obol gate will be the easiest path to mainnet. And the reason there is just that Simple DVT, and with the $2 billion USD TVL we have on Obol, we've started to really show that DVs reduce the risk. And so that's what CSM is starting to bring into their module. If you're running with true DKG, if you have your technical credential, if you're part of the Obol Collective, you have the easiest path to mainnet and get access to that stake. And seeing the Lido DAO and all the conversations around the CSM module, I really think it's going to keep growing. So I wouldn't sleep on the opportunity of joining CSM V2, especially through the Obol gate that gives you like a lower bond. So these two opportunities were maybe a bit more on how do we bring more operators, especially the smaller one, to collaborate with like the bigger operators. But now I want to talk a bit about V3 that Izzy presented on main stage at FCC a couple of days ago. Everyone knows institutions are coming, right? No surprise. The good news is that while I discussed how Obol can really improve the performance of your validator as a cluster of semi-pro or like even amateur validators, Obol also works for institutions. And we've shown that today with Blockdaemon and Bitcoin Suisse that are now deploying a lot of their infrastructure on Obol distributed validators as the superior way, as the higher rewards play for their clients. Now, the thing with institutions that's quite interesting is we saw it with the Bitcoin ETFs. The fees were like very close to each other. I don't know if you remember. And the play with institutions really gets done at the margins. And that's where, again, by being part of the Obol Collective, potentially as a node operator running Lido V3, you can get access to an improved reserve ratio. So for those that know a little bit about Lido V3, by running Obol in that vault, you might get the access to mint more STETH in that vault. What does that mean? So that's higher capital efficiency for your liquidity providers. And everyone knows that we'll probably get like exotic looping strategies through Melo or other projects building on top of that. And that 1 or 2% more STETH that you can mint because you're running an Obol DV really make a difference and compound over time on that vault. So once again, distributed validators as the safest way to run your validators without compromising performance and having all the key security built-in security and resilience of your validator shows that they add value to Lido in general. Of course, we also have the Obol incentive program. If you're not familiar with that, please contact me. And that's just like sprinkle on top to show that these vaults can really be poised for massive adoption in the coming months and years. Cool. The last opportunity that I want to talk to you about as an operator is obviously the Curated Set. I know some of you guys are part of the Curated Set, and recently the Lido DAO has voted and has even recommended the use of distributed validators within the Curated Set. All of the things that I've talked about so far, Simple DVT, CSM, at the end of the day are almost like smaller pool of capital, but the Curated Set, as everyone knows, is still like 90% of the Lido stake. It is the largest pool of ETH ever like created by a DAO. So the impact of bringing a technology like distributed validators within the Curated Set is just like insane, right? We are just like showing the world that distributed validators are worthy of being brought into the most important pool of capital in terms of ETH stake in the world. So the technology is mature. It's being recommended by beautiful Will here on these tweets. And so this is what we call the Great Migration. It will start initially with 1,000 keys per operator in a semi-trusted fashion via what we call this key split, where the operators centrally split their keys into the different key shards. And there we still have some trust assumptions into what we call the won't be evil setup. Ultimately, we want to go to a larger portion of the keys of the Curated Set being migrated to distributed validators. And in that case, we can introduce like a true DKG process, eventually TEs, and like a can't be evil setup. So if you're a node operator, feel free to contact me in case you haven't seen the different incentives, again, that we're providing for that migration to Obol distributed validators, at least the first 1,000 keys in the Curated Sets pool ETH that you control. So these were just like 4 opportunities: SDVT, CSM, Lido V3, and the Curated Set that Obol is pioneering and helping Lido progress on their roadmap towards like decentralizing their operator set, making their operations stronger. And if you're an operator and want to chat about any of those with me, I'm here all day.